You might be wondering, what am I doing here? Fantastic question. Good news. I'm going to answer that for you. You're here to see me talk about Eminent Domain and maybe play it a little bit. So, let me go ahead and set this up. Now, as you may have noticed, I have not played every single card. Most of them are on the side, but that doesn't matter because this is just a run through. So what you'll be doing is setting up all your cards in order of roll based off how the board says so, and you will have turn phase cards. Now when you pass these out, keep in mind you need the start player one in game for reasons it starts the game. So I'm going to go ahead and keep that for myself because I think I'm the one who's going to be starting the game, and I'm not going to have a second player because he's going to be fake. So that's that. This is my starting planet. It's going to be started as not being played. How that works is throughout the game I'm going to be capturing planets through force or through colonizing, capturing cards using actions and rolls, and getting victory points in order to win. Now, how do I begin? Simply, you start with your hand of 10. Your hand of 10 will include 1 politic, 1 warfare, 2 colonize, 2 survey, 2 produce and trade, and 2 research. Shuffle those up. If you're familiar with the deck building game, you'd know how it works. You'll be shuffling your hand, and on your turn you're going to draw out 5, which is the limit until you start getting cards that give you higher limit. You'll look at your hand, you'll play actions, you'll play rolls, and then you'll put them in your discard. Next hand, you'll get your 5, and continue. Now what do you do in this game? It's simple. There's plenty of things that you can do. So I'll go ahead and explain a few things. You can colonize or through force grab planets. Other side will have a planet on it. How you'll do that is you'll be playing actions and rolls in order to either gather ships to fight planets or colonize, and you need the amount listed here in order to capture the planet. So I will take my hand and I will draw out 5 and look at it. So in my hand I currently have a survey, 2 produce and trade, and research. You're asking what that means. Simple. Let me explain. A survey lets you pretty much grab new planets in order to colonize and go to war with in order to grab. Warfare is what you use specifically to go to war with the planet in order to capture it. Colonize does the opposite. It lets you colonize a planet in order to grab it. Produce and research, or produce and trade. Depending on how you want to play it, if you want to press produce, let's look at a planet card. There's going to be a little production symbol here. It'll let you take one of these tokens and produce the resource you need in order to grab victory points. And then trade does the opposite. It lets you sell a resource that's on a card. And research lets you buy these cards down here that are going to be technology cards. The more research you have, the higher technology card you can get. They have layers of 3, 5, or 7, depending on how great the card is. And these are pretty good. I've used a couple last night. Flawless. Very good. What's cool about technology cards, they also work as different types of cards. Like this one specifically is colonize and warfare. So while it's in your hand, instead of playing it as an action, you can play it as one of these options. So on your turn, what you're going to want to do is, and politic specifically is one action that lets you just grab any one of these cards to put in your discard. So I'm going to start my turn by doing an action. And for the action, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to survey. I want to survey. What that does is let me draw 2 more cards. So I'm going to draw 2 more from my hand. And now I move on to the roll phase, because you only get an optional 1 action. So on my roll, I am going to... So I'm going to go ahead and research. Now this is something that it's a little difficult to find in the rule book, so I want to do it here. While I'm researching, the roll in research says that I can acquire 1 technology card after satisfying costs and planet requirements. What it doesn't tell you on the card is that you can actually play a research card and then just collect that research card instead of needing to buy a technology, which was a little unclear. What I will be doing is, so I have a research out, and I'm going to go ahead and play 2 more research cards down with it. So that gives me a total of 3 research, in which I can buy one of these cards here. However, I have to be able to satisfy how many planets I've collected. And so far I have no planets collected. I haven't colonized or grabbed through force any planets, so I can't satisfy any of these. So what I'll do is just take, and keep in mind the action goes back into your discard. I'm going to take the 3 cards, including the one I just drew as my roll, and throw it in my discard. I'll now look at my hand and discard as many cards as I like. I don't have to discard all of them. So I don't want to use politic. I'm going to place it back in my discard, and I don't want to produce and trade because there's no reason to do so. I'm going to put these back in here. So now I draw back up to 5. 1, 2, 3. So I have 4 cards in my hand. I'm going to reshuffle my discard. Place that one into my hand, and now I have my new hand of 5. Let me go ahead and speed this up a little bit just to show you something new. So what I did is I sped it up to the point where I just have already captured a planet, and I'm working on this planet here, and in my hand I just got one of these technology cards. So I'm going to start my turn now, and on this action I'm going to use the technology card, and I'm going to use it as its action itself, not as one of the rolls. So what that does is it gives me 2 fighters. So I'm going to grab my fighters, place them on my side in my inventory, and now I'll move on to my roll. And since I'm a leader, my warfare card specifically says that as a leader I can collect a fighter or I can acquire a planet. So since I already have 2 fighters on this planet, and this planet only needs 2 fighters, I'm going to go ahead and activate it. Now I own 2 planets, both of which are going to be advanced planets based off the symbol. So that means that I could probably buy this technology card if I had 5 research in my hand, because it needs 2 advanced planets in order to be a prerequisite to buy this, which is great because at the end of the game, as you can see, it gives me 3 victory points. Let's go ahead and finish the game up as of right now, and let me go ahead and just give myself a little bit more to work with. And how the game ends is, depending on how many players you have, one of these decks has to be depleted. So I depleted one. There's only so many people in the game, and now we count up our victory points. So I'll look at all the cards that are in my hand and look for any victory points, and most of the time they're going to be on your technology cards. So I have this technology card, however there's no victory points attached to it. Now if I would have had this card, I would have had 5 victory points. This card would have given me 3, but I don't have any of that. So now I'll count my planets, and it seems that I have 6 points in my planets that I've collected. So that's good, 6 points. Plus I have the 2 from the victories that I've collected just throughout the game. I'm at 8 points. The rest of my hand, there's no technology because any of the rolls don't have points. And then everyone will tally up their points, and that's that. A few things I didn't cover, which I'll cover now, is when you're playing a roll. Once you're done with your roll, in clockwise order, or however you like to do your order, everyone else gets to do the same roll as you. Let's say I'm producing, and I just pulled it from here. Now I look in my hand, and I can play any extra, so I'm going to play another one, which means I can produce on 2 planets. So I'm going to go ahead and produce on the 2 planets I own, and end my turn. The next player will be like, okay, do I want to produce? Let's say this is his planet here. So he looks at it, he's like, do I want to produce? Yeah, I do want to produce. So he'll pull out his produce card, and he'll play it out, which gives him an option, or an opportunity to go ahead and produce on his planet. The other opponent's like, you know what, I don't really want to produce, I don't have any planets to produce to. No problem at all. All he does is he draws a card from the deck and plays it into his hand. So then he'll have like 6 cards in his hands, for example. And that's how the game works. That's Eminent Domain. What do I think about it? I love it. I really do. I had my first playthrough recently, and at first I was confused, but as we played it, it just got a lot better, and honestly, the excitement for the next time we play was just growing exponentially throughout the entire experience. It was like, oh, I can't wait to play this again. I know exactly how my strategy is going to be. I know exactly what I'm going to be doing. It's perfect with 2 players. I played it with 3, and I thought it was great with 3 people as well. I can see this working with 4 players. The interaction between players isn't that high at all, actually. You're kind of just doing your own thing, and people are feeding off your rolls, but you're not actually directly attacking anybody ever. If you ever go to war, it's with your own planets. But it is still fun to see how everyone's strategy goes down. I would definitely say there's replayability in here. There's a lot to do, a lot of strategy, and I feel like when you have multiple options to strategize in order to win, you'll always continue to come back because you want to find that like perfect strategy in order to win. And since I never win, that's something I'm always consistently looking for. My favorite part about this game, I think, is going to be this layout here and the whole idea of action and roll. I think it's cool that when you want a card to add to your deck, you'll use it as a roll and then collect it at the end of the game or end of the round. I think that's really neat. I think it's a really fun idea. My only con for this game is that there's not much interaction with your other players. I wish there was. I wish I can maybe use cards to steal from an opponent or maybe attack an opponent's planet, because if you play Battlecruiser, which is part of the same universe, it's kind of what you're doing. You're actually attacking other players through like a third party. And if you ever play the game or if I do a review of it, you'll understand what I mean by that. So I will go ahead and link to that if I ever make a video. However, I think this game is fantastic. I really enjoy it. I don't know if it's everyone's type of game. I'm sure some people won't enjoy it. I am sure a lot of people like to directly interact with their opponents. I don't think it's very accessible. I don't think people who don't play games much will understand it or like it because it's kind of, I want to say imaginative. And why do I mean by that is the fact that throughout the entire game, you're kind of just understanding what's going on. When you're attacking a planet, you can imagine the spaceships attacking the planet. You're not actually seeing it. You're not verbalizing it or anything. So that's that. But in the end, it's a great game. Tasty Minstrel Games publishes some fantastic games, and this is one of them. Thank you for watching.